Perfect. And it shows that we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Bear with me as I double check on my personal device over here. I promise I know what I'm doing. You're at least in one good hand. Perfect. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and kick off and get us started. As people are starting to hop on, I know I always have that awkward pause. I do that so that you can be alerted that we're live and that you take the time to start sharing the information out to your networks. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and I'm excited to continue our live broadcast that we host daily. Now, if you have been following our page before, you don't need to do this, but you can at least hear and information share with others. Be sure that you like the page, hit the follow button so you get timely alerts whenever we do go live. And this is also streamed on our YouTube platform. So Westminster Chamber of Commerce, that channel. A lot of folks that are not engaging on Facebook can actually find the content there. We also have a resource hub available on our COVID-19 updates page on the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, where you have videos that date back into March when we first kicked these live broadcasts off. Now, these live broadcasts are supposed to educate you on business topics or areas that you can improve your business. We've also created more structure to them by allowing our mayor to kick them off every week with us with a mayoral update. We then feature a business success story on our Tuesday. So if you haven't already caught the Luan Technology one that we had on Tuesday, be sure that you find it on the video section of this Facebook page. We, of course, on Thursdays are hosting our nonprofit corner, and this time is designed for us to learn more about what our nonprofits are doing during this time, how COVID affected them, things that they did to kind of adapt, and from health and safety parameters, what they're doing, but more importantly, how we can support them. Now more than ever, they are continuing to service our community at an exponentially higher rate, and so we want to make sure that they're taken care of in return. So you should be more familiar with this if you're a Facebook user, but at the bottom of this broadcast, you'll see a section that you can actually type in any comments that you have. So if you have any comments that you pick up, if you want to share with us compliments, whether it's we sound great, we look fine, you know, the information that you're picking up is digestible. But more importantly, if you have questions, we'll actually be able to take those up at the end of the broadcast. So as our guest is visiting with us, he does have a PowerPoint that he'll be referencing. Type in your comments. That means it's in the queue, and we'll take those up at the end of the broadcast. So without further ado, I want to actually touch on who our guest is. So today in the nonprofit corner, we have with us Lloyd Lewis. Lloyd is the CEO of Thrift, and I've met Lloyd, I want to say, gosh, it's been about 2 years. It's felt like 22 with COVID, but it's been about 2 years. And every time he shares about what new things they have going on or just in general about the organization, I am continually inspired and impressed. And I think you will feel the same and experience it no differently. So with that, I've set the bar pretty high, Lloyd. I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Juliette, and very much appreciate the invitation to speak to your members this morning. And I admire the work that your chamber does. You guys do terrific work and significant work in Westminster. And so it's a privilege to be with you today. We have a store, as many of you members know, on 88th and Sheridan in the Rocky Mountain Shopping Center. It's been a very successful store for us, and we've gotten a lot of support from Westminster and the chamber, and it just makes a great deal of difference to us. I'm in my 15th year as CEO of the Thrift stores. I joined in 2005. I joined because I have a little boy with Down syndrome who just turned 17. And the work that we support, we are a nonprofit, and we are one of the largest funders of advocacy for people with intellectual disabilities in the state of Colorado. We support 15 wonderful ARC chapters, including the ARC of Jefferson County. And they in turn help people with intellectual disabilities like Down syndrome, autism, and cerebral palsy find jobs and housing and medical services and services in schools. So it's a very personal mission for me. I came from the private sector prior to, where I was a CFO and had various financial roles for various companies. We were midway through a 15th record year pre-COVID. So when I joined, the company did about 30 million revenue. Last year we did 100, and we were well on our way to 100 plus. Our fiscal ends in September, and then COVID struck in March. We took a pretty significant hit in March. We actually closed in April to take a look at putting in safety requirements for our stores. We were designated an essential business by the state of Colorado, the city of Denver, the tri-counties, Broomfield, Boulder, and Jefferson County. And we began to focus, in April on relief to try to help out people in need during this very challenging time. And if you'd go to the next slide, Juliet. So I mentioned we were labeled an essential business, and we put in safety requirements, but we immediately started to ramp up our relief efforts for citizens who were challenged during this very troubling time. So we were delivering food, material for masks, clothing, hygiene products, scrubs, other PPE. We delivered literally 62 tons of food to people and organizations in need since COVID struck, providing nearly 200,000 meals. We donated 6,000 masks to individuals with intellectual disabilities across the state. We were also delivering items like art supplies, crafts, books, puzzles, bedding to groups serving vulnerable children, family, homeless shelters, and seniors. And we were reaching out to 50 plus other nonprofits across the state who were challenged by the COVID crisis, including Volunteers of America, the Rescue Missions of Denver, the Springs, Fort Collins, Meals on Wheels, Easter Seals, City Harvest Food Bank. So we initially began to ramp up our efforts to help as many people in need as we can. And if any of your members are involved with specific organizations or people in need, please reach out to me at ARC. Juliet has my email, and we would be happy to help as we can. So we initially emphasized relief, and that's on a continuing basis. We are continuing to serve 3 or more organizations every week with various needs. I mentioned safety precautions that we implemented. We reopened stores on May 1. And if you go to the next slide, we spent March and April studying what were the best safety practices in Colorado and across the country. So we mandated 31 of the best safety practices that we could identify. Masks and gloves for all employees, plastic shields at registers, 6-foot spacing, reduction in staffing, 6-foot markings throughout the store, one-way aisles, limited customers on a per 1,000 square foot basis, full-time sanitation staff in all facilities, wiping down of cars, quarantining of donations, and taking employees' temps as they entered our stores, closing our fitting rooms. We did everything we can to protect our very valuable employees and to protect our really valuable customers. I'm on a call every afternoon at 3:30 with compliance staff, identifying any instances of non-compliance and having those addressed on a real-time daily basis. So we really, 1, emphasize relief, and 2, emphasize best safety practices. On relief, there's a few examples that I would bring to your attention in addition to what I've described. If you go to the next slide. So again, we were donating clothing to shelters across the state, like the Rescue Missions and VOA Rescue Mission. Next slide. We were donating non-perishable food items to a lot of people in need, including the Navajo Nation. 60 tons of food donated to Meals on Wheels. We are still collecting food to serve our communities. Next slide. vouchers, gift cards to school districts all over the state as far as Alamosa. Next slide. Mattresses donated to families in need through Colorado Red Cross chapters, another example. Next slide. Toys, arts, crafts, do-it-yourself projects, books, games, senior centers, family resource centers, as far as Grand Junction. Another slide. Scrubs, hospital masks, hospital gowns, to medical centers, recovery centers, again, across the state. Next slide. And we will continue to provide relief during this very challenging time. Again, if any of your members are involved with nonprofits or organizations or individuals who are in a time of need during this period, please reach out to me and we will help. We never turn anyone down. We will help anyone who comes to us during this challenging period. Next slide. We are one of the largest integrated employers of people with intellectual disabilities in the state of Colorado. I have hired 350 employees with intellectual disabilities during my tenure. They are a vital part of the company. They love to contribute. They're very positive. They love to help in any way they can. They are also quite the characters. So we have a gentleman with Down syndrome who brings in his bowling score every week and announces it over the PA system, and all the customers and employees applaud. And we have another young lady in a wheelchair with cerebral palsy who told my CEO group she was gunning for my job because she'd throw better parties. And when I chided her at bowling night, she said she was throwing me under the short bus. So they are very much a big part of this company. We initially put them on paid leave out of concern for their safety as we started to implement safety practices and contemplate reopening. We had them, though, doing various home tasks like pricing jewelry or stapling receipts or posting on social media about their jobs and their lives and the value of people with disabilities, sending us artwork that we could post. And we've in turn done Zoom meetings with our employees with disabilities. We created something called ARC University, a series of 12 post-secondary style classes with degrees conferred for participation. So we do monthly Zoom ARC University classes, and we do monthly Zoom social activities like virtual tours of museums and the zoo and other virtual activities. And then we created a business group with Civitans, the international group serving people with disabilities, that has done various service projects. Yesterday, they talked about doing letters to frontline healthcare workers, thanking them for their service. So I'm really proud of what we've been able to do with our employment programs and other programs for people with disabilities. Next slide. So we are committed to dedicated funding for our 15 ARC programs that we support all across the state. We've literally generated $100 million in funding to these programs during my tenure. We are bound and determined to regain, the kind of sales volume and customer base that we had pre-COVID, and that's well underway, and I think we'll be there early to mid-year next year. Again, we will continue our relief efforts to the state and our dedication to our mission, which is to enhance the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities all across the state of Colorado. Is there a next slide? I don't remember. And here are some of our great employees with intellectual disabilities. Ryan on the left, by the way, if you go into a store, he will likely come up to you and ask you how you're doing. And unless you literally say the word great, he will hug you again and repeat his question. And he will repeat that question until he gets the correct answer. And one morning he called me in my office, this young man with Down syndrome, to say he had a great idea for a store. So I said, well, what's your idea? He wanted to put together a worldwide wrestling display for the store, because that's a very popular sport for people with disabilities. And he put it together, it was beautifully done, and it literally sold out first day. So we're proud of the people we employ and the mission that we serve. And it's been very meaningful. And we did an economic impact study as kind of an aside a year or two ago with the University of Denver. Very proud to show an over $2 billion economic impact on the state of Colorado from our business revenue, our sales taxes, our capital expenses, our social support of social programs and the chapters. And so we like to think that we're doing really good work for the state, but also making a very big economic impact on the state. I come from a business perspective, so my approach has been to run ARLIC like a business with an emphasis on the mission. And I've always felt the better the business we run and the more earnings we generate, the more we could fund in social programs. So that's been my approach here. So I don't know if I'm over my time or not, but I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Well, thank you so much for that, Lloyd. And we've got several people that hopped on here with us. I see Jolene, Rolla, I see Emilio, Kyle, Oscar, and a few of you others. Please be sure that if you're just now engaging with us, we have with us CEO Lloyd Lewis for ARC Thrift. He has gone over a number of things that they have done in wake of COVID, kind of where they were prior to it, and what they are continuing to do in addition to being dedicated, of course, to their mission and the people that they employ. Most of those comments I did try and capture into the comment section of this broadcast. But if you're hopping on and you think of a question or something that you were unaware of and just want us to know. I know Emilio commented on another one and said the ARC Thrift is awesome. He did it on another video broadcast, so I can't pull it up for you to see, but kudos on everything you're doing. And, you know, you're always humble about it. That's the thing with you. You know, before we even hopped onto this broadcast, you were sharing, you know, set your expectations. I knew I needed to set it pretty high, because what I loved in our conversation in the past is your connectedness to the organization, to the mission, but then your business spirit behind it. And I think that speaks a testament to a lot, because sometimes people think of business just as this monumental thing that is out there, you know, taking from others and sustaining on profit alone. When there's a lot of layers that are involved in that, and you look at your model and you are serving a community that's in need, your employees, and past that, everyone that you're interfacing with in the community at large. So I think that speaks volumes, and I've seen what you do and personally have gone to your store. So I know some of your team members there, and they are a breath of fresh air whenever you're interfacing with them, whether you're checking out or just going around the store. They make you feel at home, and that shows. So Chris McGrath is commented on here. Thanks, Chris, for hopping and tuning in. He shared that he's got 4 kids. They spend a lot of time at ARC in Boulder County, and not only the shopping, they're saving them money as well. So it's a feel good, right? So you're supporting the cause and the mission of ARC, but you're also finding what you need at an awesome rate. Most of the things that are in there, you could not find elsewhere.
Our store in Louisville and Boulder County is a terrific store. As is our store in Longmont. And it's a great place for families to shop, and you can save a lot of money, but also know that you're supporting a good cause. And my wife was not a thrift store shopper until we got married about 7 years ago, but now she's very popular in our store because she goes in often and she buys maybe a little bit more than I prefer, but she gets a lot of great deals, and it's a fun place to shop where you can save a lot of money. It's a good place for a shopping spree, by the way. Good place for a shopping spree.
Absolutely.
The item in our stores is about $3.
Mm-hmm. So Lloyd, you shared with us about after COVID unfolded and taking the time off to analyze, you closed down so you can assess what you all were going to take into place, the guidelines that you decided to put in as policies for your store, probably before even the state made them a mandate, really, for businesses to start following. And then you alluded to this toward the end by sharing, you know, probably next late spring, we will be back where we were in customer base. And I want to come back to this. And the reason why I'm coming back to it is sometimes people are seeing their businesses are reopening, and they're getting busier naturally, but they're not where they are or where they were before. And so can you give me a percentage wise, or how can we help people in understanding what that actually looks like in comparison to pre-COVID and where we are today, reopened?
Yeah, we personally are at about 85 to 90% of last year's sales, and we're targeting incremental growth of 2 to 3% per month. I think that will be dependent on what I anticipate to be a successful vaccine no later than year end, if not a little before, with mass distribution of vaccines probably mid next year. But I think we're in a rebuilding phase, a lot of us in the business community. The tech center and some of the other companies are in a different environment. But for your members who operate restaurants or hotels or traditional brick and mortar retail, we are dependent on people becoming comfortable and coming back out in public, and they're not 100% just yet. But I think that will build through mid-year next year, and I think everyone will rebound really nicely no later than mid to late next year. And I just want to comment that a lot of people think that nonprofits run differently than for-profits, and in some cases that might be true, but we're literally a retail brick and mortar thrift store business. And I come from the business sector. I'm a big believer in business. Your members contribute so much with creating jobs and providing for families through those jobs. And, you know, business sometimes gets some undue criticism, but business is vitally important to the state of Colorado, to our country, to Westminster. And chamber members, I think, are among our best business people. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to chat with you guys today. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Lloyd. And I share that sentiment. I always say, you know, nonprofit is a tax designation. We still have to make money so we can continue to do better and
Right.
turn around and attract what we would like to. And it's exactly what you shared. It's been interesting. I had this conversation yesterday, but you know, there are industries that are doing well right now. I can tell you, you know, obviously we've stopped our programs and our events, and some of our members are unable to kind of renew and keep some of their things going. So we're working with those people. But if you look at my new members in the last few months in comparison to last year, I'm ahead of where I was. And that's kind of just reflective of there's certain industries that are doing well. And then, of course, those brick and mortars, my retail, my hospitality industry, my restaurants, those are the ones that are interfacing with people, and they're not doing as well as possible. So the idea behind this really is twofold, right? I want them to see what you all are doing, but I also wanted them to hear about what you've put in place in terms of health and safety for everyone. And that slide that you brought forward, you know, we had that blue slide where you listed everything, sanitizing that was there, you know, washing down those parts that you had, equipping your employees with the things they need, the social distancing, the gates, and all of that is a way to show consumers how are we making sure that they're also safe when they're trying to support us as well.
Yeah, we're happy to consult with anybody about our practices, and our practices are posted on our website. But if we can help anyone at all in, you know, how we've managed to implement safety in a way that is the least distracting to our business, because we do need to make sure that we are operating as a business and creating more product that people are seeking. So there's a balancing act there, but we did not want any of our employees to get sick or any of our customers. So really lean into that in the month of April in terms of how we analyze that.
And how has that been as far as with your employees that have returned, or have all of your employees returned to work? Were there some that were a little bit more hesitant with coming back after COVID unfolded?
Well, I think most of our employees returned. Some decided to not return, at least yet, because of COVID. And some were kind of a fan of the $600 a week federal assistance. And some of them, I think, did fairly well hanging out at home. But, you know, most returned, most are very committed to the company. And, you know, employees get a bad knock too, but that's undue because they really are committed to our businesses, whether we have restaurants or our hospitality or, you know, any type of business. You know, all of your members have very committed, loyal employees and customers, and we do as well. And those are the people that we count on. Those are the people we count on.
Right. Agreed. Well, Caroline, thank you for hopping on here with us. And of course, Chris, I see you both on here tuned in. So Lloyd, before I start closing this out, Can you share with me, you already have on if somebody is working with people that are in need of things, or if the relief support that you're providing might apply to them, but how can people support you and the work that you're doing if they're wanting to make sure that you bounce back, not all the way next spring, but hopefully the next month? What does that look like in terms of community support to you and your
visiting our stores and picking up needed items? That's very helpful to this company. My wife and I try to visit local restaurants and local businesses. It's more important than ever to support local businesses. Donations of food or scrubs or PPE related materials is very helpful given the relief mission that we're engaged in. And if you are a donor or a customer, if you help spread the word about our mission and the quality of our stores and our donation experiences, that's also helpful.
Excellent. And most of your donation centers, those locations are listed on your ARC main website, correct?
Yeah, currently all of our stores accept donations, and they are listed on our website, and we will be incrementally reopening donation stations through February, and they will be listed on our website as well. So if people are so inclined to visit a store and pick up some needed items or make a donation of food or other items, that's always appreciated, always appreciated.
Well, terrific. Well, if you don't have anything else to go ahead and share my way, I know I've been picking apart some of what you've shared, but I hope you were comfortable with expounding on some of that information. Sometimes we get in a habit of giving, 3,000-foot perspective, and I really want people to grasp it and fully understand it, from their lens as well. Do you have any last comments before I start closing out for tomorrow's information?
I just want to again thank you for this invitation. And I want to thank your members for what they do with their businesses in this very tough time. And I have great faith that they will be back better than ever, no later than next year.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that positivity. I agree. I think there's going to be better days that are ahead. We just have to kind of not just survive, but look at ways that we can thrive all together and move forward and support local whenever we're thinking of ways that we can make sure that you guys are still around tomorrow and not just today. So this concludes our broadcast. We have with us CEO Lloyd Lewis from ARC Thrift. Most of his comments were shared in this broadcast. You're more than welcome to rewind it and watch it if you're just now hopping on with us a little bit later. If you do view this after we're live, make sure you give us that hashtag replay so I know that you tuned in, that you have picked up some of the information, but also do your part by sharing out the amazing work that ARC continues to do even during this time. They've adapted some of the efforts that they have going on, but have continued to maintain with their core mission and supporting their employees and the community at large. So incredibly thankful to have them here in Colorado, here in Westminster, of course. And before I wrap out, we actually have one more broadcast that's scheduled for this week. That'll be tomorrow at 11 a.m. We have a Colorado politics focus. We actually have a former journalist, someone who's worked with our previous Secretary of State, and then we have former State Senator Sherry John. So I have two people that are going to be with us to talk about Colorado politics. This really kicks us off into the voting season. So you'll be seeing a trend of the guests that we bring on Fridays that are focused on our ballot issues, on things that you should be aware of, and just kind of educate you about things that you can do as an informed voter in our community. So appreciate you, Lloyd, and everybody that's tuned in today, and I hope you have a terrific rest of your day.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.